That was juicy. Hey guys, Rick the Huge with DV Laserworks. I hope y'all are having a great day. Today we're going to talk about one of probably the most expensive things outside of buying your laser, especially a CO2, that you're going to have to do. There's a lot of, necessary upkeeps, uh, lubing your rails, cleaning your lenses. But this item is probably the most expensive thing that you will have to replace other than your CO2 laser. What is that, Rick? Well, it is your laser tube, and it is long. Um, this one, when I went on to Amazon and bought it, it was under $600. Now, what does $600 get you? Well, laser tubes as a whole have to be replaced at a certain time frame. Usually they either do with years or hours. Most laser tubes last, depending, especially at the higher end, we're talking your 100, your 130s, your, whatever up above 100, it's usually about 8 to 10,000 hours. And usually, as it states on here, oh, where was it? Basically, it's the life of your laser. Well, yeah, my laser's still kicking. But one of the things, and I was kind of, especially when we're talking about the money aspect of it, again, that was, excuse me, that was under $600 to buy. Now, some companies, they want you to buy your laser tube through them. Some, if you just look on the data, you can get, I don't know, you get a lot cheaper than buying it from your manufacturer. I apologize for the frog in my throat. Don't know what's going on. But we're going to go on anyway. So, how hard was it? Well, realistically, it was not hard at all. In fact, hardest part for me was asking my son where our small screwdriver set was that we use to repair computers and stuff. I had the tube unloosened. There's a couple of wires, 2 hoses, and Bob's your uncle. It was relatively easy, painless, outside of the wallet. Um, a lot of things, and one of the things that this does have, and I'll try to show you on here, you got supports, or these little stickers right here, and right there. And based on my videoing, it's actually, this is your alignment marks. Now, on the laser tube, that right there is your business end. That's where all the pew power comes out of. So whenever I was replacing my tube, I noticed that this line was closer to where this actual support was. This was a little off. Now, these are just suggestions. They're not rules or what have you. But in some supports, they'll line up perfectly with these. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. But for me, I had to line it up on this one. This is the tube right here. And then there's a bottom tube right here. This is where all your water comes in. This is what keeps your laser cool. As I look at the deal, it's rated at about 100.3, 103.2 watts as max power. Um, this is a Reiki laser tube. There are other laser tubes out there. This is a W2 laser tube specific for my laser. Now, what does this mean for you in the grand scheme of life? Well, eventually you will have to replace it. Try not to break that because that's going to become part of the decorations in here other than my garbage. But it was quick and easy. Um, I had ordered it last week through Amazon. Um, I would post a link in the description below, but I'm not. Namely because unless you have an AP laser that is a 2816, it's not going to apply to you. So why bother? But I highly recommend y'all checking out, if you do come into that instance of having to replace your laser tube, check with them first. Get all the information off of that data block on your laser tube and check it out. I think the prices on my laser tube, if I were to go with AP laser, was about 1,200, something like that. It's been a while since I checked it. Like I knew I was going to have to replace it eventually whenever I first bought it. So I was looking up prices there. Plus, you also have to depend on it being out of stock. Now, most lasers, you can get all sorts of fun stuff. There's Cloud Ray, there's Reiki. You can go through, whatever is in the back of your laser. I highly recommend going with that particular brand because it's set up for it. The power source is set up for it. Everything that you actually need is back in the back of your laser. Now, what I had to do was I had to drain the liquid, in my case, distilled water, and drain it out a little bit. And there was some still in there, not a big whoop, but I had to disconnect. After I got everything done up, making sure, of course, the power was off. Is basically just unscrew a couple of screws. I think the total amount of screws that I unscrewed was about 6. There was 4 Allen heads and 2 very small Phillips heads that were at the business end and the opposite end, and that's where all the connections go. Outside of that, it was just plug and play. Once I got that done up, found the screwdriver that I needed, it was real easy. I mean, you do have to be careful because that is glass. You don't want to break it, but it is one of those things. Now, your galvo lasers are going to have a different power source. I think those are RFs, and if I'm wrong, please correct me down below in the comments section. But arguably, it was a very easy process. I would say beginning to end, I may have spent 30 minutes, if that long. and that's not including my goof off time. But it was actually fairly easy. Um, it is something that you will have to account for as a laser owner. Now, with diodes, with whatever, everything is different. So you have to contend with that. Um, but for me, it was relatively easy. Got it, after I put everything back together, did a test run on it, and it worked out great. Worked out, I mean, I was back at full strength. Now, one of the things that you do have to worry about, and I say this with, and this is something that we should all do, especially as the years on a laser come about. Check the intensity of the plasma or the laser tube. Um, there's different colorings. Mine's kind of a mace window purplish pink or something along those lines. And you can tell the intensity at that point in time. Now, for me, mine was getting much fainter. I was having to increase power in order to do what would normally be a simple task. So that's when you know things were getting a little bit out of date and there was a lot more going on. So arguably the laser tube that I replaced it with has about an 8,000 to 10,000 hour, or about 4 to 5 years replacement time. Um, but again, that's all subjective. Um, it all depends on how much you run your laser. Anytime the power's on, that counts towards the hours of the laser. Um, if you are, running it, let's say 5 to 6 days a week, about 10 hours a day, that's 50 hours to 60 hours a week, you're running it quite heavily. The one thing I do know is when you run it at, especially with CO2s, it's not as effective on your Galvo style lasers that I am aware of. If you're running at 100% consistently, that will reduce the amount of time that you have with that laser tube. And I would argue that there's not a lot that you need to do to run your CO2 at 100%. 90 to 95 should be the max that you run it at. But outside of that, there's no reason to go to 100. Now, I did do it once, and that was just because I didn't have a fiber and I wanted to see what would happen. One of my buddies had the same laser I did, or I do, I should say, and I ran it at 0.3 inches per second, and yeah, it didn't, I mean, one job. That's not going to kill your laser tube. But when you're consistently doing hours and hours at 100%, yeah, that's going to kill your laser tube. So be mindful of that. But like I said, it was quick and easy. Um, I would, I mean, for the ease, as long as you have some mechanical inclination. Now, I deal with robots, and so taking things apart, putting it back together, and going that route, not a big whoop for me. But somebody who may be not mechanically inclined, it may be a little bit different. Take pictures. Go in reverse order. After you know, get the you know, get the tube emptied out as much as possible. If a little bit of liquid drains out, okay. But it's not that hard. Make sure you reconnect everything. Make sure you do a functions check on it. Um, Make sure that you test it out afterwards. Make sure everything's good. It will benefit you in the long run. One of the things that I noticed, and even on the card that or the screenshot that you all saw at the beginning of the video, Amazon, it says in big red letters, and I'm looking at the box right now, keep flat, not upright. Well, when I got it, it was vertical. Now, does that change anything? I don't know. I won't know until I test it. But my main thing was making sure it wasn't broken. But if you go and do all this stuff, you treat your laser right, you're not running it at 100%. Arguably, the laser tube, whenever I started noticing it going bad on me, it was about 6 months ago, but I was just delaying the inevitable. I wanted to push it as far as I could. I'm happy with the performance that I got out of that laser tube. I'm happy with getting the new one. But, again, it's all fun and games until you don't have it. But I would say that if you're thinking about, oh, well, I need to keep one on hand just in case, I wouldn't do that. I ordered mine on the 9th, and I got it yesterday on the 13th. Now, they gave me from the 13th of May till the 16th of May. It came basically the first day it was supposed to have. I'm not mad about that. Now, that said, if you're running one of these CO2s dang near 24/7, sure, have extras on hand. But is it a deal breaker? No. Just when you start seeing your performance going down, order one, keep driving on, increase your speed, or your power, I should say, or decrease your speed, whichever the case may be, and just drive on. My AP laser's been doing real good for me. I have not had any issues with it. Are there some other lasers that I would like to try? Sure, I would grant that. But I don't have the room for it right now. I got to clean out my garage, make more space, get more power to it. Whole bunch of other things, but that's neither here nor there. But arguably, if you're taking care of your laser will take care of you. And it's, it's one of those necessary evils. Now, is the laser tube the most expensive thing on the laser to replace? I would argue yes. Like I said, that was under $600. Of course, Amazon Prime, free shipping, and considering the size of the box, yeah, it it's quite expensive. There are other parts on a CO2 laser that go out consistently, some not so much. I've had to replace my water flow sensor multiple times, um, but it wasn't that bad. Um, it was just waiting for the part to come in. I've replaced a radiator, and I've got two of them. No big whoop. Um, Again, when you take something apart, you put it back in at the same in reverse order. No big whoop. Um, Now, some of you are wondering, well, Rick, you got 100 watt. Have you thought about going to 130? I would say yes, I've thought about it. However, it becomes a point of I would have to redo a lot of things to uh, change things up. Now, am I scared of doing that? No. You're looking at having to replace power source, having to replace the laser tube, which if you're already replacing it, that would be the ideal place to do that. Of course, materials testing, no big whoop. I use Lightburn. It has a material testing feature on there. It'll get you where you need to be. Um, would I do it on this machine? No. It doesn't make sense. This works perfectly just the way that it is as designed. Now, would I buy a 130 watt laser? Maybe in the future. I don't know. Um, there's several different lasers out there that have 130s. Um, the fiber laser that I have right here, that is a workhorse. It has the company San Antonio Laser has CO2 lasers, and matter of fact, when I first bought this about 4 years ago, in a couple of months, were just starting to come out with them. Texas-based company. I could, drive down there, and if I had a box truck after taking the 5-day course, I could drive home with it. Beautiful thing. OhmTech has 130 watt, reasonably priced. Thunder Laser, same thing. I think now these are all big lasers. They're much bigger than mine. We're talking like 50 plus inches across. So that will handle quite a bit of what you would need. The problem becomes what space you have to put it in. I'm in my garage right now. Could I throw one of those big lasers in here as I look around? Yeah, if I cleaned out my garage. But again, it all depends on what you're wanting to do. But my main consideration with this one was, what could I afford at the time? And, and I went down that rabbit hole. Now, was it the cheapest thing I could have bought? No, not even close. The thing that I bought it for was the ability to move the Z table out of the way. And it works. I've used it before. I've moved stuff. I've done, pretending that this is a cutting board right here. I've done a big cutting board where I was able to engrave this edge using the normal Z table, and we're talking like one that I could use for briskets. It wouldn't have fit in the Z table. I tried. So I had to move the actual Z table out of the way and do that. But it worked. I was happy. But I got a little off track. It happens. It's my channel. I'll do it. But back to the rat killing at hand. The replacing a CO tube should not be that scary for you. The only scary thing about a laser tube is the cost. That's it. And there, I could pull it up and look at different laser tubes, different styles, different, whatever manufacturers. The cost is expensive, but when you break it down, you're looking at, like I said, this is 5 years down the road times 600 or divided by 600 or 600 divided by 5. You're talking $120 a year as an expendable item. And that is what it is. It is expendable. That's like buying a cleaner for your tumblers. That's like buying lenses. While it is durable, it can be expendable. It's not that big of a deal. And I'll do a video about expendable items and what have you, and that'll include cleaning products that I use, the lenses that I use. There's a whole litany of different things, but a laser tube is expendable. This one that I got right here, I may clean it up a little bit, get it fully drained. Like I said, I may hang it up on the wall, so you may see it in future videos. But arguably, it did what it was supposed to do. It got me through my first 5 years, and this one I'm hoping to get through another 5 years. But it all depends on how much you use it, the power that you use it at. Stay away from that 100. Absolutely stay away from it. It will decrease your life expectancy of your tube by half. So let's say this is a 10,000 hour. It may reduce it down to 5,000. Simple math. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Turn off your laser after use unless you're doing bulk orders and you got everything set up, and everything should be good. Again, I appreciate you all following me, watching this video. This is, I'm almost a month out from my surgery. I still got a little bit of swelling, but it is what it is. Every day I'm getting better. I still hurt, don't get me wrong. But I'm learning quite a bit and trying to get everything done up. But again, I do appreciate y'all following me. Please like, share, subscribe. This will help me out in the long run. I do kind of want to do more videos. Want to get away from my iPhone, have a dedicated setup, and as I'm looking at my garage, I got a bunch of stuff I've got to get rid of. So thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate y'all. This is Rick the Huge with DV Laserworks, and I hope y'all have a great day. Now, let's see, what else can I replace?